But why do you also think people don't really appreciate Silent 4 that much as compared to the first three?
Um, that's a good question. I, a lot of there are people that are huge Silent Hill 4 defenders. So
Yeah,
I,
there are
yeah,
sometimes very aggressively as well.
yeah, and it sort of pisses them off when I tell them that I'm not a fan of Silent Hill 4, unfortunately. Like I think it like you said, I think it does have some really good ideas. I think the idea of the first person being in the room itself is really cool. I think for a PS2 title, it's gorgeous looking. I
Yes,
think
it is.
some of the concepts that are in that game are really interesting, like the idea of the 21 Sacraments, bringing it back to
Mm.
Walter Sullivan. That whole thing that you can learn about in Silent Hill 2. But I just found that the way that game is structured and the story that they were trying to tell, the pacing of it is very much a slog. It wasn't
Yeah, it
matched up
is.
well. Yeah, you're not really pulled along while you're doing it. It's just after the first hour or two, you sort of start to understand everything that you're going to see for the rest of the game,
Hmm.
and then you're just sort of playing it just to complete it. And that's sort of how I felt when I was playing it. It doesn't I never really felt that sense of dread when I was playing it. A lot of the times when I died, it didn't really seem fair. Like when you're on those huge escalators and trying to
Yes,
fight those dudes, that's yeah, it's not it's
it's a
not
big turn
programmed
off,
well.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's why. It doesn't seem to borrow from a lot of the same archetypal ideas that made the first three Silent Hill games so great. It borrows from some, but not a lot. And I think that was sort of the foretelling of the end because soon after that, even though Silent Hill Origins was pretty good, uh, yeah, after that, we obviously got Homecoming, and look how that turned out.
Homecoming is also a bit of a trash game as well, I think.
Mm.
But compared to four, at least it still tries to stick with the whole theme of Silent Hill
Hey man,
as compared
like
to four.
the Homecoming to Silent Hill 4, Silent Hill 4 looks like the Magna Carta in comparison.
Yeah. And also one thing I didn't get about four, I think you probably know this as well. It seems like they created a concept of the game, and then mid production they're trying to decide what the name is.
Mm.
After that, maybe we could put here like a different name, play, give it a different identity. But the problem is, will it sell? Because back at the time, I think this was actually one of um, the decades where horror games were at its peak,
Yeah.
and Silent Hill was on a roll. And when I think they decided to just place the name Silent Hill there in order for it to sell,
Well,
because
it's interesting you say that because I've heard two different stories in regards to Silent Hill 4's production. I've heard one story say that it wasn't originally supposed to be a Silent Hill game. It was going to be just an entirely different concept. Hence why you have those parts at the
ghosts and
beginning of the
everything.
game where sorry.
They have ghosts and everything, which is not inclined when you play one and one, two, three. There's no ghosts whatsoever in one, two, three, as far as I could remember.
Well, I suppose it depends on your definition of ghosts.
Mm.
But anyways, yeah, there's obviously the whole concept of the room that's very foreign to the first three Silent Hill games, and a lot of people thought that maybe they were trying to do something else, but then Konami told them to turn it into a Silent Hill game just so it would sell better, like you said. But then I read other reports saying, nope, Silent Hill 4 from the very beginning, it was intended to be a Silent Hill game. So I gotta plead ignorance here. I honestly don't know what the deal is.
Mm.
I tend to believe, I think I heard from, uh, I read a developer say that it was originally just supposed to be a Silent Hill game all the way since the beginning, but I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me if you guys are listening to this.
Yeah, I think we're just speculating on the fact because they didn't really disclose the idea on what really happened there, or at least
Yeah.
officially. But it does feel like a different game.